But when it's a chronic, ongoing attempt to alter your reality so that, or to alter my reality so that it fits into your reality to my detriment, but I start to believe it, I start to live it, that's gaslighting. And the person who's gaslighting, they know what they're doing it with intent.
Welcome to Profound Conversations, the podcast where we engage in today's most pressing, concerning, interesting issues with leaders, change agents, those who engage in the process of making the world better. We're here today with Dr. Pamela Brewer, and we want to talk about gaslighting, the process by which people can seem to make one feel as if they are not who they really say they are, to question their own thoughts and reality. This is where we're going to delve into a conversation about one of the most insidious forms of manipulation. Insidious because it becomes a zone of psychological dissonance where people begin to really question their own integrity, or do they really know what they're talking about? And so we're going to talk about gaslighting and how it's shaping a discourse within the country, how it helps inform certain things in our relationship that causes us harm, and how we can reclaim our own reality, resist the manipulation, and rebuild trust in one another. Dr. Brewer, welcome to Profound Conversations, and I am just ready to talk about this concept, this idea of gaslighting. I know that you have your own podcast with Mesh with Dr. Pamela Brewer, and so we're supposed to explore this thing about the emotional and psychological aspect of relational health and gaslighting. We're just going to kick it off right, and let's go. Let's get into it. Gaslighting. What is gaslighting, and what is happening at the national level with gaslighting?
Gaslighting, I absolutely agree with your use of the word insidious. Gaslighting is the process by which a person, maybe it's a party, I don't know if we want to extend it out that far, but certainly it is the process by which a person does everything that he or she can do to alter your sense of reality. So it goes even deeper than altering your sense of integrity. It alters, the attempt is to alter your sense of who you are as a human being. Is this real? Is this not real? You can wind up saying and doing and accepting things that you never would, but for the fact that someone has been really successful in challenging your awareness of reality. It's really scary. It's can be really well done, and it can be really deadly on all kinds of levels.
Right. You talk about it. It's manipulative.
Yes.
It's abusive.
Yes.
The idea of denial, distortion of facts, trivialization of what's there, projection and isolation. All these are part of this gaslighting process, and we see it happening at the national level, right? With
Yes, absolutely.
the dynamics of individuals need to honor somebody who's dishonored a whole population. Someone who said some negative things about women not having the intellect to be able to run office positions and run offices, and yet they are also taking jobs from other people. The statements such as, and then statements as saying that a certain population was better, did better before civil rights, and had a better, lower crime and a better lifestyle during enslavement, right? And then it has people really question: am I wrong for not necessarily wanting to honor and celebrate such people, such a person? I mean, that's a very heinous form of gaslighting. What are your thoughts about that?
The idea, I mean, it is absolutely true that we don't want anyone to be killed, period, end of story. But the idea that we are now being told to celebrate someone who, you're right, depending on your race, depending on your, depending on things that were true and clear for you, it probably wasn't right. It probably wasn't good. You were probably less than. So this notion that women didn't have the capacity to think, that men don't have the capacity to think, that, slaves were better off in slavery because at least we learned, that is gaslighting at a very high level. this notion that we're not to believe our ears, right? We're not to see our eyes, right? Our eyes are lying, our ears are lying, everything we've heard, that's not really real. That's not really a problem. The problem is that you people don't accept what fill in the blanks, what I say should be accepted. It's when somebody says something, if I say to you, really, I think you're not looking so great today. And I keep saying that to you. And then you come back and you say, well, you said I didn't look great. And I said, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? I didn't say that. I'm sorry you think I said that. I did not. That's a form of gaslighting.
Gaslighting. Wow. I heard just recently that there's a feeling, there's a belief, the person said it on the news, that white men did not have freedom of speech. Their freedom of speech was taken away from them. And now when they begin to speak out with their voices, all of a sudden it's a problem. That seems to be gaslighting at its finest, at its highest level, right? This idea of free speech, and the only thing that seems to be free in speech right now is when you can deny somebody else's reality. Racism becomes free speech, but anything antithetical to that becomes problematic. And I heard that just today about white men not feeling like they've been having their voices taken away. They lacked free speech. The other thing I heard is that gaslighting is that in teaching the Black history out of Florida, this teacher was saying that he was taught not to be a racist in his hometown where he did not have any Black people around, but he says Black people are taught to hate white people, right? And I was just amazed. That this is a real situation in Florida, Miramar area, where students are feeling intimidated by this instructor. Is that also gaslighting?
Absolutely. When you're taking reality and you're pretending that it's not, you're turning it on its ear, and the fact that you are questioning it is because there's something wrong with you, there's a problem. I mean, I'm thinking about the young men who have been found hanging from trees. And what are we told? Well, there's no evidence of foul play. I mean, that in and of itself perhaps isn't gaslighting, but when you add it to everything else that we're hearing, so somebody hanging from a tree, that happened by accident. There was no foul play. It was a suicide attempt. Because, of course, the first thing I think about if I'm going to kill myself is I'm going to jump up in a tree, throw away the horse, throw away the table. It's all me. It's my problem. It's my fault. One of the things about gaslighting that actually makes it gaslighting is the consistency with which it happens.
Consistency.
So if I say one thing to you one day and I come back and you question it and we're just having an argument, it is what it is. But when it's a chronic, ongoing attempt to alter your reality or to alter my reality so that it fits into your reality to my detriment, but I start to believe it, I start to live it, that's gaslighting. And the person who's gaslighting, they know what they're doing. They're doing it with intent.
So, wow, that's on a national level, right? We see that happening nationally. The idea of people having to question themselves. I'm interacting with populations all over, and people just really upset with the fact that they feel like they can't have their own beliefs, and then questioning whether or not it's a good thing or bad thing. Like you said, no one should die violently, and people are asking, well, saying, well, the children grew up without a father, and the wife doesn't have a husband, and so going through all of those things in the midst of this other stuff, questioning their own feelings, questioning their own beliefs, questioning their own reality. And that's gaslighting. And it can happen also in relationships, right? You talk about the issue of relationships, it can lead to depression, it can lead to some other things where spouses can facilitate the feeling of gaslighting, right? Distortions of reality. So talk about that, because I mean, you were a psychotherapist. Let's go there.
If I'm in a relationship and my spouse is telling me that what I was told to do, I didn't do, or what I heard that I was told to do, I didn't really hear, or the money that I thought was in the account isn't really in the account, or I am being gaslit.
Mm,
And the goal, and it certainly happens with elders too, because we have to remember that the goal is to have control over me, perhaps my body, perhaps my
mm,
finances, perhaps my social life. One of the things about gaslighting is that gaslighters really want to limit your critical thinking, and perhaps that's the greatest antidote to
mm,
gaslighting, is
mm,
to engage in critical thinking, which means you need to engage with people outside of yourself. So if I'm in an abusive relationship and my spouse is telling me that pretty much everything I say or do is not what's real,
mhm,
everything my spouse is saying or doing that I'm saying or doing, that's what's true, not what I think is happening.
mhm,
If I don't have somebody outside of that to sort of bounce ideas off of, there's going to come a time where I'm actually going to believe, yeah, this really is my fault. You know, I
mm,
got beat up, but it really is because of me.
mm, mm,
So again, the gaslighter is creating a condition in which I, as the person who's being harmed, am taking responsibility for my own harm.
mm, mm,
He or she didn't do it. I did it, and it's my fault.
mm. So the consistency, the
Consistency.
toxicity of it, right? The conditions of transference of blame, doubt, castigating another person, making them believe that they did not uh, hear or see what they really saw,
Right.
but
And
they can. Go ahead.
limiting the social interaction too.
Mm, mm,
Because if you tell me something doesn't make sense to me and I go to my buddy, then the gaslighter runs the risk of the gaslighting attempts failing.
mm,
So then the part of it is letting other people know that there's something really wrong with me. She's saying and thinking, and it's very strange. And that's part of what happens when it comes to medical gaslighting, for example.
Go ahead.
If my person, my representative, is telling my clinicians, my docs, that I am saying and doing these things and they don't make any sense. I overheard my person plotting, which is where Martha Mitchell got into some trouble, right? If I overhear that bad things are happening, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. I was
Mm,
hallucinating.
mm,
If I think I'm seeing something going on that really is going on, but I'm told that it's not, and then I tell that and then the medical professional is told that, then they begin to believe that there's something really genuinely wrong with me.
mm,
That can result in a misdiagnosis. That can result in mismedication. That can result in all kinds of things. So the bottom line with gaslighting is an ongoing attempt to take me away from my sense of what's true and replace it with what the gaslighting person wants me to believe, for the purpose of diminishing my well-being, my self-esteem, my health, my wealth, you name it.
So how does the gaslighter benefit from that, right? So that's the intent, but how do they benefit? I mean, what is it
Power,
in it for them? Mm,
power, control.
mm,
Absolutely. If the gaslighter, let's pretend I actually had $1.
mhm, mhm,
The gaslighter, by the time he or she has convinced me that I really don't have any money, then the person who's gaslighting, they have to take control over my finances, right? Because I don't know
mm,
what I'm doing.
mm,
Maybe I own property, but really, there's something just wrong with me. I can't make quality decisions. I need to sign it over to the person who's gaslighting. It
mm,
is taking away my control over any number of areas in my life. They do it for the power, they do it for the control.
mm. So it seems like at some level the gaslighter is weak, is fragile, is uh, inept, or feel that way at least.
Don't say
Oh,
that. Don't
okay.
say that. Because the gaslighter doesn't want to hear that.
So it is
That's a secret.
it's a
But yes,
projection. Aha.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then the degree to which I want to appease or be in relationship with the gaslighter is the degree to which I begin to accept what the gaslighter is saying.
Well, and it's not even so much that you want to be in relationship, because conditions are created where your sense of choice is taken away. So let's take it back out to the national level. If the only way that I can be protected by the person who's caring for me is to believe everything that person says and to do everything that person does, then the idea, my own idea of my own agency is just gone. It's just gone, because that other person has to take care of everything, is what I'm being told. And yes, if you think about it, somebody who actually has a sense of self, they don't need to control and to exert power over the people around them.
Okay. But people who are fragile and lack that need to
Absolutely.
feel whole in the context of somebody else feeling less than. Wow. So what do we do, right? So how do we move through this? How do we gain some clarity? How do we feel reconnected with ourselves? How do we take back our power if we've been gaslit, right? What do we do?
One of the things that people often say is to pay attention to your gut. The problem with gaslighting is that you start to question your gut. But paying attention to your gut, writing things down, you get a slew of emails and they really don't make any sense to you. You hold on to them. You stay in connection with the people who are part of your support system. You listen to what they have to say. Are you getting different feedback? Critical thinking is the enemy of gaslighting. That's the bottom line.
So listen to your intuition. Stay connected with people that have your best interest at heart. Right? Yes. What was the last thing you said about your power? About your? That was good. The last one.
But if you are critical thinking,
That's it right there.
Is the thing that is your gift. We all have the ability to engage in critical thinking in one way, shape, or form, but that is the enemy of the person who's attempting to gaslight. That's their enemy.
So when I start thinking for
Yeah,
myself, that's problematic, right? So
absolutely.
we can even see why when this shooting took place recently, that there was a shutdown or an attack on HBCUs, right? There was this threat,
Right.
historically Black colleges, universities. There was this threat of I don't know, some bump that's what student classes shut down or they had shelter in place orders, right? Is the assumption that somehow in HBCUs people are thinking? So if I can get you to stop thinking and just react.
The assumption is more if people in HBCUs are really inferior and really violent, then they must have done this bad thing. So we have to protect ourselves from these bad people who do these bad things. So
Wow.
that's more to empower the base of the person who's doing the gaslighting than it is the other folks.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense, right?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
it justifies their position. This is why we did what we did, is because they're doing what they're doing. Got you. And
Right.
that also becomes it. So that at the personal level, that same thing can happen, right? As you were saying, shut down relationships around you, or beginning to cast doubt by telling others this is what they're saying, this is what they're thinking. Isn't that crazy? So when I go and I'm speaking to my source, my network. They're already prepared with, okay, so you're saying the crazy stuff that they said that you're going to say. Yes, I got it.
Right.
And that debases me, because now all of a sudden I have no support. I'm in a free fall, and there it is, feeling hopeless and helpless and everything else.
At a national level, what's happening is that there is clearly this groundswell of people who are going along with a certain frame of reference. So for them, their community is believing what the person who's attempting to gaslight is saying. They're believing it. In a interpersonal relationship, it's the social network that is being interfered with, that is being denied, that is being hidden. So the dynamics are slightly different, but the intent is the same, that the gaslighter ultimately is the person who's able to exert all the power, all the control, all the decisions, and hold on to that, because
Mm.
there's clearly something wrong. And only the person
Hmm.
who is engaging in that gaslighting behavior, they're the only ones who can fix it. They're the only ones
Wow.
who can be trusted.
Wow. So the thing we need to do, right, is to trust our gut. The idea of reclaiming our reality. That is our reality. We need to resist the manipulation, right? Be able to resist through the context of being able to engage in critical thinking. Critical thinking is where we begin to move into a space where we can challenge that which is coming against us, and not simply being thought for by someone else, but recognizing that we have our own thoughts. And so this is what's happening. Intuition is telling us one thing, and we also can think through things. You said keep records of what is happening and maintain accurate records of what's going on, what is happening, so that you can go back and look at the records and not listen to the recording of your own voice or the recording of somebody else's utterance. And the last thing is, how do we rebuild trust in one another? Real challenge is that we have to recognize that there are people that we can trust, and we will be led
Right.
to have those healthy relationships. How do we rebuild trust in one another? Speak on that one as we get ready to close out.
The What's important is boundaries. So I
Mhm.
need to have boundaries for myself. And even the people who I am engaging with, they've got their own set of boundaries. Rebuild trust is the easiest thing to break, and it's the hardest thing to rebuild, but it can be rebuilt.
Mm.
So consistency. If I am, how do I rebuild trust within myself and within my community? Is there somebody, is there a person, is there an entity that I can consistently go to and know that they will be there for me? Take self-care as a part of rebuilding trust in myself, recognizing that I have value on my own. It takes time, but it is absolutely doable, and it's life-saving. Boundaries are very much a part of setting boundaries, setting limits is very much a part of being able to rebuild trust with myself and with others.
Wow, setting limits. I love what you said about the self care, and I think that that's powerful too, right? When you talk about critical thinking, because for me, self care comes in the form of exercise. I engage in yoga. Yoga is where I really get centered, and I can begin to process things that have come my way, and I begin to hear data, and I begin to hear certain
Right,
things, and I begin to
right.
sift things out, like that doesn't wash well, right? And so I think
Exactly.
that's so important. And then what we consume, right? Our dietary consumption, things that we consume that may lighten us up a little bit, right? Eating more fruits and vegetables helps us to think more clearly than eating a lot of heavy starchy stuff, because it's clouds up the cognitive, the neurocognitive pathways. But also, I think the one thing that you said that's so spot on is about that internal voice that's always speaking and leading us in the right direction. I think that's what we begin to question. And I think that we have enough information to combat those things that are coming against us. And if we're willing to just stop, listen, and trust that particular reality, we can then be able to trust one another, because everybody is not out to get us. But we do know that the gaslighter is about gaslighting, because they are
Well,
fragile, they are incompetent, they are inept. And once we recognize that, we recognize that we must have all the power, because the fact that you want to spend time
right,
gaslighting against me
right,
means I
right,
have more power in your
right,
mind than you do.
right. Absolutely. The notion of also limiting what we pay attention to, right? What are we
Good,
listening to?
good.
What media are we taking in? Not only what food are we eating, what drink are we drinking, what people are we engaging in, but what are we listening to? What are we looking
Yes,
at online? What are we
good,
listening to on television?
good.
Monitoring our intake on every single level.
That's it. So closing, give us close out. What do we do? How do we live better, do better, and be better? I guess what's your closing remarks to us?
Live better, be better, and pay attention to yourself.
Pay attention.
Recognize that you matter, that your thoughts matter,
Mm,
that you don't need to have proof that you matter. You matter.
mm.
Period. End of story. And that is a hugely important and powerful foundation.
Dr. Brewer, Pamela Brewer, how do we get in touch with you? How do people follow you? How do we know about Mesh, the podcast with Dr. Pamela Brewer?
Well, MESH is MESH with drpamelabrewer.com is the website, and that will give you the directions, the links to everything else. We're on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook Live and all over the place. So MESH, MESH with drpamelabrewer.com will show you all the ways to be in touch.
Is MESH an acronym for something?
Mental, emotional, and social health.
There we go. So Mesh with Dr. Brewer. This is it's important to know that people are out there. The voices are there speaking to us. Check out the podcast. I know that you will be uplifted by it. And if you have enjoyed what you've heard on this podcast, you're encouraged to share this with someone else so that they can also be uplifted how to move beyond gaslighting, to reclaim their reality, to resist the manipulation, and to rebuild trust within themselves and one another. And so also we could always use your support to keep doing this work. And so we're asking for contributions, right? If it's you have that big windfall that came in from the lottery, you can send us a portion of that. Or if you have another portion that you want to share, please do it. We're looking for at least $15 per person that's checking us out so that we can continue to do this profound and prophetic work of having profound conversations. This is Profound Conversations. I am Dr. Mwata Kairi Sankara, also known as Dr. Kevin Washington. And we thank you for being a part of this moment of how we can live better, do better, and be better. Thank you.
Thank you for joining our Profound Conversation. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to our podcast and then gift this information to a friend or family member using the share button.